think we are now live. Hello, I am James George and welcome back to My Neighborhood Guide, The Lockdown. We've had some amazing guests on our previous show and I've got another really interesting guest this week. I am joined by Daniel. Daniel, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me, James.
Honestly, thank you so much for coming on. I know you're a busy guy. So first of all, explain, I know you're a estate planning attorney, but a lot of people might not even understand what that is. So explain what you do, your business, and how you are as well.
Sure. Well, thank you for asking. So we're doing pretty well. My wife and our two little kids are in the house and doing okay, as well as you can be right now. And in terms of estate planning and what it is, I agree. Estate planning is a term that a lot of people are perhaps a bit scared of or intimidated by. You know, is it just for the ultra wealthy? Is it going to cost me a fortune? Those are the kind of common concerns. But what is it that this is all about? It's about questions like, and just addressing the current situation, if you end up hospitalized because of COVID-19, who's going to look after your kids while you're in hospital? Who's going to pay your bills for you and manage your finances? Who's going to make your healthcare decisions if you're not able to make those for yourself? And what kinds of healthcare decisions would you want made? Would you want, ongoing artificial treatment and intervention even after a doctor had said there's no real prospect of recovery? Or would you want something else? Those are some of the kinds of issues that we deal with every day as estate planning attorneys.
Yeah, I came along to one of your seminars actually, and when I went into it, I was like, I know it, obviously being in real estate, I know a little bit about it. I know in regards to like when you have trusts, we often get it where, someone's trying to buy a house and the trust is trying to sell, and there's like these 5 people who will arguing about, if they will accept this price, and it can become really stressful and difficult. So I had lots of questions actually when I came in, and your seminar, really dived into so many different aspects of why you would need an estate planning attorney and why you need wills and all of that. And it gets quite complicated. So if someone just wanted to chat to you right now, I just want to just get it out there. What's your company name and website and stuff so people can start researching it?
Sure. So company name is the Law Office of Daniel R. Weiner. I'm very creative like that. I paid someone to come up with the name. And to get more information, there's our events page actually. So as James mentioned, we were doing a lot of live events before the pandemic hit, and James was kind enough to come along to one of them. We've since then switched totally to webinars, which we're doing weekly. So the best way to get more information about this area is to come to one of my webinars, go to drwevents.com, and that has all of the latest information and registration details.
That was going to be one of the first things that I wanted to talk to you about was because a lot of how you got your business before was, it's not like this sexy business where you're selling a new Tesla where people can come along and test drive this new car. It's one of these.
Sure, though, I like to think I operate in a sexy environment here. So
it's one of these things that how do you get your business? And I know from chatting to you, it's often doing social media and advertising, and then getting people to come along to your seminar, and then sitting in that seminar. Now, obviously, right now, people aren't going to be going along to a live seminar. So it sounds like you've adapted straight away and been doing similar to what you were doing just online.
That's absolutely right. So number one way of that we attract clients is through referrals, but number two absolutely is through our events, which we've totally switched to online. And we've found definitely an uptick of interest in this area right now for obvious reasons. Because procrastination is the biggest reason that people don't get their estate planning done. And this pandemic, amongst all the other things it's done, has really focused people's minds in wanting to make sure things are as easy as possible for the people that they love if something happens to them.
So I'd like to know a bit more about your actual business and how it's been affected. So from my understanding, am I right in saying it's just you, your wife helps out, but you haven't got like this massive overheads with a lot of staff, is that correct?
That's right. So my wife helps me full time. Right before the pandemic hit, we were on the verge of hiring and expanding out into bigger offices. Right. We've shelved that for now, so I have a lot of outsourced support, but no actual employees right now. So
which is obviously great. You know,
yes.
There's companies out there, we've interviewed them before, where they've got hundreds of employees and
yes.
they've got massive overheads. You're in a fortunate position where you haven't got them, but at the same time, you have to generate enough business to still pay the bills. So one of my early questions I wanted to ask you was, how is business? Are you less busy, the same, or even more busy during this time?
That's a great question. We are more busy right now. As I said, there is a serious surge in interest. I have a number of doctor clients, actually. I have one client who is an emergency medicine doctor, and he came to one of my presentations several months ago and then got back in touch when the crisis hit, and we expedited everything for him because he's really nervous about being exposed every day to this virus, and he wants to make sure his family isn't left in a complete mess if something was to happen to him. So I've got a number of clients like that who, the situation has made things really urgent.
Yeah, you'll obviously go through it a lot more in the seminars, but even just thinking off the top of my head, things that would mean a lot to me is if something happened to myself or my wife, for example, two of us, then I remember you explaining about the legalities of who has the kids and all of that, and whether they might have to, be taken away and being in a care system until something is sorted. And for me, that was one of the main things that we talked about that really hit home was, if something happened to us, what would happen to our kids? So I can imagine right now people are having those conversations at home. So we're not going to turn this into a 2-hour seminar on that. That's what your seminar is about. But if anyone has got any concerns about any of those types of things, they should 100% get in contact with you. It's great to actually chat to someone who is potentially doing better. I want to know as well, your advertising, your contacting clients, like how have you improved? You talked about someone you've reached out to, who reached out to you, but your advertising, are you spending the same, more? What are you doing differently than you were before in regards to marketing?
So the marketing is actually very similar to what we were doing before. So before all of this started, we were in the process of getting up and running with a major marketing boost. So we've got people helping us to do geofencing and some pretty high level targeted marketing so that we can reach the people that really need these services. So that really has just continued. And all of the marketing is based on driving people to the webinars, because I really think it's all about getting informed and educated. And until someone's been through that process and sat through that webinar for an hour in the way that you did, as you said, we met, we had a coffee, we had some lunch, I told you what I do, and you left with no clue about what it is that I do. So the only way someone can really understand it is to go through that webinar experience in the way that you did.
And you're getting more people, obviously you're doing more presentations and getting more people signing up to your webinar right now. So your return on investment compared to your advertising is obviously doing really well there.
It is, yeah. Return on investment is doing very well. And the costs of running each event are obviously substantially less now that we're doing webinars compared to the Wine and Wills event that you came to, where we were serving wine and appetizers, and people were coming around.
When we first met, actually, I remember going to the webinar, and I actually said to you, I think long term you should concentrate on online. And I remember we had this conversation, and I came away from that meeting going, the meeting was great, but you can only physically do a certain amount of things. You can do a certain amount of live presentations, whereas I was like, I think you should concentrate on doing this on live. So it's funny that you've kind of been forced to do that.
Yes.
And it looks like it's helping. I think you'll find that long term, you don't get me wrong, face-to-face interaction is always going to be the best way of dealing with clients. But at the same time, you can talk to more people, have less outgoing costs. So are you thinking you might stick to this model long term, or will you go back to doing more live presentations?
I think that's a great point. I think there's no question that this is going to be a component of our sort of ongoing education of the community going forward. So we're going to go back to doing Wine and Wills as soon as we can, because we love it. We find the events are so much fun. People are engaged. People are making jokes. Most estate planning lectures don't involve any kind of joking around, as you can imagine, but Wine and Wills, couple of drinks, and people are actually having a good time. The webinars, though, we're able to reach audiences across the state. I've had, big organizations, big companies who have asked me to speak to their employees, and I've got one of those coming up on Thursday. We've got about 30 RSVPs so far.
Yeah.
That one. So, the power of the webinar is unquestionable.
It's really good to hear someone that's doing well and learning what's happening, because obviously there's a lot of businesses and people out there that are in difficult situation right now, and they're like, how can we get ourselves out of this? And there's going to be some businesses where you just physically cannot adapt your business in order to be able to survive, but there are going to be businesses out there that maybe did. We had the same with Eric from Cutco. He used to do loads of live presentations, and now he's doing them online. And I think that hopefully there are people out there that can think about their business and transform it to try and do more stuff like what you're doing. How are you contacting your current database and following up with people? Are you getting any business from emails and calls? Are you actively trying to go through your database at all?
We send out every week. We send out a newsletter just with our thoughts for that week. But beyond that, I've been keeping in touch with my past clients, really just to see how they're doing, rather than for any other reason. So we have been doing that kind of outreach.
Yeah.
But
the truth is, I would highly recommend doing what we're doing and doing what I've interviewing other people, what they are doing as well. I'd start from the very top of your database and go down and just give them all a call. And it doesn't even need to be salesy. Don't just literally be like, hi, we've met before at this event. How are you? And
sure.
I think in regards to business, it's a really good way of staying in touch with your clients, and people appreciate it. And and I've had it before where there's some very lonely older people out there, and I spent an hour with them on the phone. They just wanted someone to talk to. And it's one of those, I think it's a really good way of connecting with people. And so I'm using this platform as well to learn how certain businesses are doing well and what they're learning, and then trying to pass that information on, and also learning myself. So that's
great.
You've got your clients you've actually dealt with, but you've probably got a lot of people in your database who you've met once, who you're sending an email to, but let's face it, the open rate is probably something like 15 to 20% max. There's going to be a lot of them that aren't opening those emails. Just giving them a call and seeing how they are. I bet there's one or two in your database that will probably sign up and use your business.
I think that's a good idea. We're always, we're trying to be very sensitive right now to the environment, because, as you say, there's a lot of suffering out there right now in all kinds of ways. And those of us who do make a living by helping people through these kinds of situations, we never want to be seen to be kind of pushing an agenda.
That's why it's not the call where you call up and say you might die tomorrow, you should get a will. It's more of how are you doing?
Yes.
And at the end of the conversation, just to let you know, if you ever do need help with anything, let us know. And that's what we're finding is working really well. There's people out there that, you know, from my situation who are not going to be, who are looking at moving house. They now just lost their job.
Yeah.
They're not going to be moving home now. That is the last of their worries. And I'm not going to say to them, oh, I think you should still move home. Of course, I'm not going to. My priority is, okay, that is a rubbish situation. If there's any way we can help, then do let us know. You know, if you're looking for a job, you know, then I might know someone that I've just had a conversation with 2 minutes ago who has got a thriving business right now. They might have a pizza shop that they need more drivers or something like that. And I can say, I know it's not what you normally do, but I've just spoken to someone else. They need someone. And so I'm just there to try and help people. So yeah, I know what you mean. People are feeling uncomfortable now calling their clients because they feel as though it's insensitive.
Yes.
If you call from a standpoint that I just want to help people, I think people appreciate that.
I agree. And that's definitely the approach we've been taking. And the other thing I think is a lot of people feel very out of control right now. So everything in their life is sort of out of their hands. They can't do anything to control it. And one thing that I think we're helping them with is to take control of those really important issues in their lives. Who's going to watch my kids? Who's going to make my healthcare decisions? You know, people are not helpless when it comes to that. They really can take control. And that's what we're trying to help them to do. Yeah.
So in regards to a lot, as you mentioned at the very beginning, a lot of people think that what you do maybe is just for the very wealthy. Who are your clients? Like, that's what people are sat there listening to this right now, or maybe in the future on the pre-recorded, and they're thinking, but maybe this isn't right for me or whatever. Who is it right for?
Great question again. And I have clients all the way across the spectrum in terms of financial circumstances. So I've got clients who might have, you know, 50, 75,000 in savings or investments, all the way up to sort of 20 million invested. So there's a wide range. I typically deal with families. My sort of sweet spot and the people that are the majority of my clients, families with minor children. Because as you said, I do the kids protection planning, which is closing a gap in the traditional way that estate planning is done for families with minor children. So that's sort of typical. But you know, anyone who has any level of assets or is married or has any kind of concerns or has the feeling that they want to make things as easy as possible for their families if they become incapacitated or after they die, these services are for them.
And can you help only people close to you in San Diego, or can you help people in the whole of the US?
So the whole of California. The whole of California. Yeah, and I have clients up in LA. We serve Orange County a lot as well. And right now, the way that everything is becoming virtual, I think this is going to become much more the norm. Kind of even after everything passes, a lot of lawyers like me will be serving outside of their immediate communities. And actually signing meetings is something a lot of people have asked me about. You know, how do you conduct signing meetings now with social distancing? And it's gone surprisingly smoothly. You know, the last few weeks, we've done about a dozen signing meetings in people's driveways. Everyone wears gloves, everyone wears masks. We do as much, you know, distancing as we can.
We've got good weather. It'd be fun trying to do it in the rain.
Exactly, as it would be where me and you come from originally.
That was going to be my next point. So I'm pretty sure there's quite a few Californians watching this right now who are thinking, why have we got two British guys chatting? This is how we contacted each other originally, because we were like two British guys, similar interests, moved to California. How long have you been here, and how did you get into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I've been in the States for a few years. My American wife was in London with work about 7 years ago, and we met, and she never left, and we got married, had a baby. Then she sprung it on me, hey, I want to move back to America, because they always spring it on you after you've got married and then had the baby. It's never before. So I was working at a big law firm at the time, and the big firm agreed to transfer me over to their Washington, D.C. office. So worked there for a little bit, and then decided to branch out on my own a couple of years ago. And California has always been a dream of mine ever since I was growing up. Looking at the rain in London, I've always wanted to move here. So
yeah. Great. Well, is there anything else you wanted to let everyone know and talk about?
I don't think so. I really appreciate the opportunity, James, to chat with you. And
honestly, thank you for coming on. In regards to the best way of contacting you, tell us what your website is again. If you're on social media, tell us how we can get hold of you.
So the best way to contact me, I can tell you my email address, which is dan@drw-law.com. For anyone that wants the kind of information that we were talking about earlier through a webinar, it's drwevents.com. And yeah, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram too.
Awesome. And his events are completely free. You literally can get every bit of information you could possibly get on this subject, and he makes it fun. It's not boring. So what you should do is you should do the wine. Everyone should have a glass of wine still on it anyway. That should be your criteria.
That's what we're hoping. We're hoping to bring that in. We were thinking even of delivering a bottle of wine to each attendee. So anyone that's thinking of signing up, we may have that in place by the time of your webinar.
I might just do it every day if you've got one, just to get the wine. So thank you so much for coming on. And we can follow us on My Neighborhood Guide, social media. We've got the YouTube page and the Facebook, Instagram, and we're going to be doing these every Tuesday and Thursday. We've got some great guests next week. So thanks, Dan, coming on, and have a good one. Take care. Hope the family's good, and I'll speak to you soon.
You too. Take care, James.